So, you're a vegan now, Applejack. By Inky Scrolls. It was a hot day. Too hot. Even Celestia was starting to think it was perhaps just a little too warm, and she really likes the sun. For Big Mac, it was torture. And he'd been out in the heat all day, making medium-distance deliveries to neighbouring settlements with names almost as imaginative as Ponyville, such as Colton, Manchester, and Horsetown. So, it was with a huge sense of relief that he arrived, finally back at the apple farm, late that summer evening. Leaving the wagon in the barn, he trotted wearily round to the door of the farmhouse and stepped inside, relishing the cool of the flagstones beneath his hooves. Then he splashed some cold water over his face, before popping into the larder and coming back with a large jug. Pouring himself a swift pint of milk, not beer, he returned the jug to its place on the shelf, covered it with a tea towel to keep the flies away, and wandered comfortably through to the lounge. Sighing pleasurably, he sank into an enormous armchair. He was just about to take a sip of the glass of milk he'd been carrying when the door across the room, which led to the stairs and the rest of the house, creaked slowly open. It was Applejack, but rather than coming through the doorway like a nice, normal pony, she simply stood within the doorframe, watching Big Mac with a vacant, unblinking stare.
You okay, sis? The stallion asked. You look tired. Do you want some milk?
At the word milk, Applejack leaped into action, lunging across the living room with such speed that a casual observer could almost be convinced she flew. Nya! She shrieked, landing in front of Big Mac with all the grace of an untrained, overtried ninja, and knocked the glass from his hoof, sending it shattering onto the floor. The milk seemed to go everywhere, leaving Big Mac, the armchair, and the hearth and the rug liberally soaked. Now what was that for? Cried Big Mac, wiping milk from his eyes. Don't you let that thing near me, his sister hissed, before falling back onto the sofa in a quivering heap. After his initial shock, Big Mac was able to realise that, no matter how irrational her actions may have seemed, there would surely be a reason for them. And seeing that she was now slowly rocking herself back and forth, eyes darting from side to side as if searching for a hidden enemy, he thought he'd better try and work out what it was.
What's wrong, AJ? What you got against milk?
Again, her eyes widened in horror. Don't say that word!
What word? Against?
No! She shouted. Don't you ever mention that word to me again, the M word. Puzzled, Big Mac thought for a moment.
Milk?
He inquired at last. He knew he was right, because this time, Applejack leaped into the air like a startled cat on a hot Saturday, and flung herself down to hide behind the sofa, landing with an uncomfortable sounding thud. Big Mac frowned. This sort of behaviour was not like his sister at all, or rather, it was not like this sister at all. The other sister, what was that name again? Oh yeah, Apple Bloom. She could be a law unto herself, and did this sort of thing all the time. He decided it was time to find out what was wrong.
Can you tell me why, AJ?
I won't say the M word again. I promise. Peeking cautiously out from where she was hiding, Applejack swallowed nervously before clambering over the back of the sofa and sitting down. Knees held up to protect her chest. I suppose I could tell you, she announced. You see, she continued, I was outside this morning after you'd left to do the deliveries, and I thought I'd better see to the cows.
Big Mac nodded. Despite her refusal to use the word milk, he understood her perfectly. I see. Go on, he encouraged.
Well, I was just seeing to the last cow when it suddenly struck me.
She paused, eyes widened again, and Big Mac prodded her gently with his hoof, murmuring, What struck you, sis? She snapped back to the present at his touch and carried on.
I thought, I wonder what the cows think about all this. You know, the...
She trailed off again, and seemed to be struggling with some internal battle. At last, she gulped and whispered,
I wondered what the cows thought about the milking.
She shuddered, rolling her shoulders subconsciously as though trying to rid them of some cloying evil which only one could sense. After a minute or two, she was able to keep going.
'Cause you see, she explained, I never really thought about that before. It all seems a bit private, if you see what I'm saying. You know, it's like I'm falling their boobs,
she whispered, as though afraid Granny Smith, upstairs taking a nap, might overhear the borderline profanity and come and give her a whack with the ladle.
And I was like, why not just ask him?
She fell silent again for a moment, and Big Mac waited patiently. Eventually, she carried on, saying,
So I said, Gloria, because that was a cow's name, see? And I always call them by the first names. Gloria, can I ask you something? And she said yes, so I did. I said, you know how I milk y'all morning and night? And she said yes. Well, I said, are y'all sure y'all don't mind? Because it seems a mighty private thing, touching a cow's boob like that.
Applejack gulped, her breathing becoming shallower. Big Mac murmured gently, It's alright, sis. You're safe. She nodded reluctantly and continued.
Well, after I'd asked that, there was a pause before she said something I won't never, ever unhear. She says to me, Oh, Applejack, you have such smooth hooves, and you're so gentle when you stroke us like that. How could we ever mind? And then I realised it.
Realise what? Encouraged Big Mac, leaning forward in his milk-stained armchair expectantly.
I realised, cried Applejack, that they enjoyed it. It felt like I was fondling their boobs because that's just what I was doing. And they were getting off from it.
Big Mac raised an interested eyebrow and was about to say something, but Applejack hurried on.
So all these years I've been milking cows and I've been giving them orgasms. Orgasms, Big Mac. Like I'm some dirty, messed up whore.
I see, murmured Big Mac. And that bothers you? Almost speechless, with it incredulity at how calm her brother seemed to be. But disturbed, Applejack cried,
Of course it does. I can't go around giving creatures orgasms. Not just like that. Take natural.
She concluded, primly. So... that's put you off milk then? Big Mac inquired. She nodded vigorously.
You bet it has, Big Mac. I ain't never touched a drop of that liquid pouring ever again. So don't you dare try and make me.
Big Mac hushed calmly. It's okay, sis, he soothed. I won't make you. After a moment's thought, not thought enough apparently, he added, You wanna go out for an ice cream to help relax? Applejack shook her head rapidly, pupils mere pinpricks, before vomiting violently all over the floor. Big Mac waited till she was done and nodded. I'll take that as a no then.